On this Saturday night, millions expected to march against the Trump administration. Another round of nationwide protests in the No Kings movement. The attacks on free speech and fears of authoritarianism fueling demonstrators.
He is dismantling every safeguard that we've had for our country.
I want my rights back. I'm pissed off.
Elbows drop. Canada quietly reverses more counter tariffs on the U.S. and China. What's behind Ottawa's reluctance to retaliate? Plus, gold rush, what sparked a surge in global prices for the precious metal. And may the best officer win.
It's a fundraiser, but you know how it is.
The police competition in Quebec to help a good cause.
Global National, reporting tonight, Ann Gaviola.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Millions of people across the U.S. and cities around the world took part in a new round of No Kings protests this weekend. The mass movement, spanning more than 2,500 demonstrations, drew massive crowds. Demonstrators are calling for an end to what they describe as authoritarian rule, accusing President Donald Trump of abusing his power. Republicans have dismissed the events as hate America rallies. The movement comes amid a deepening government shutdown and fresh clashes over health care and immigration policy in the U.S. Candice Cole has our top story from Washington.
From D.C. to Atlanta to Paris and Berlin, millions in the U.S. and around the world took to the streets Saturday, rallying against the Trump administration.
We will suffer no king. We will put the United States back on a course to lead the world in fair governance. Together, no thrones, no crowns, no kings.
It's the second No Kings Day since the first one in June on President Donald Trump's birthday.
We want leaders to advocate for our freedoms instead of militarizing our streets. We need leaders who unite us rather than divide us.
Hell no ICE! Hell no MAGA!
For months, Trump has targeted Democratic-run cities like D.C., Chicago, and Portland with increased law enforcement and immigration control, painting them as lawless hellscapes, leading to violent clashes and sparking outrage in the U.S. and abroad.
America was founded on immigrants, by immigrants, and the fact that they are trying to shut that out and rewrite history is a really big deal. Being here in Germany, especially considering the history that's here, we have a unique perspective to look and say, that's not okay.
Saturday's demonstrations come as the U.S. is about to enter its fourth week of a government shutdown, as Democrats hold the line over potential hikes in health care costs that could impact millions.
I will not vote for a budget that throws millions of people off their health care.
Furloughed worker Paul Osadebe supports the shutdown and says it's his duty to speak up.
And as a federal worker, I committed to defend the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic, to actually protect the American people, to make sure that the law is followed. And the path that we're on is a path away from that.
The protests also come as Trump is targeting his political enemies with criminal prosecutions.
No more kings.
Candice Cole, Global News, Washington.
Now, Donald Trump has posted video on social media of a U.S. strike on a submarine that he claims was hauling fentanyl and other drugs. He says 2 people were killed and 2 others are being returned to their home countries of Ecuador and Colombia for prosecution. Prior to this, the U.S. had conducted at least 6 other strikes on boats connected to so-called narco-terrorism. And there is disagreement tonight over Gaza's Rafah border crossing. The Palestinian embassy in Egypt says it will open Monday, allowing Gazans stranded abroad to return home, nearly a week after a U.S.-brokered ceasefire and hostage deal. But Israel insists the gateway will stay shut until further notice, linking any reopening to the return of hostage remains. Hundreds of aid trucks continue to pour into the enclave in the wake of the ceasefire agreement. But humanitarian groups say it is still far below what's needed as millions struggle to survive. They say the Rafah crossing, largely closed since May of 2024, is crucial for bringing in food and medical supplies. Search crews in Gaza are still looking for hostage remains around destroyed buildings. Israel says it received the body of 75-year-old Eliyahu Margalit today, the 10th hostage returned by Hamas. There are reports of 2 more hostage remains being returned overnight. 18 bodies of dead captives remain missing. Now to the impact of Donald Trump's global trade war. The U.S. president just signed off on 25% tariffs on medium and heavy truck imports starting next month. Now there are exemptions for vehicles compliant with a CUSMA free trade agreement. But there are new questions over Canada's response to tariff threats. Mackenzie Gray joins us from Ottawa. Mackenzie, it appears the Carney government has quietly dropped more levies.
After dumping the vast majority of the counter tariffs on the U.S., and Mark Carney's elbows have come even further down with a new 100-page order, dropping some counter tariffs not just on the U.S., but also on China. Tariffs on China go back to last summer, put in place by Justin Trudeau at the request of the Biden administration. But now dozens of certain types of Chinese steel and aluminum can enter Canada without tariff, a significant disappointment for the Canadian steel industry.
We're going to see a spike of Chinese steel in the country, which is not good because we need to decouple from China, and we've been on the right path, but this is not helpful right now.
Tariffs on many U.S. products are also being cut, including on some steel and aluminum, but also on goods in the healthcare, public safety, and national defense sector, and even on granular products like portable pizza ovens and certain wines. Specific companies are also getting carve-outs, including an Ottawa purpose-built rental construction project that's getting rolling steel doors tariff-free.
A lot of the steel that we receive in Canada, what we import in Canada, 80% of it could be replaced with Canadian steel.
Reducing tariffs, the opposite approach compared to what the Ontario Premier wants. But the Prime Minister made it clear this week he wasn't taking Doug Ford's approach.
There's times to hit back and there's times to talk, and right now is the time to talk.
Those talks have been ongoing with Canadian government officials and Canada-U.S. Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc in Washington. When asked by reporters on Friday, a U.S. administration official refused to discuss what's being negotiated. But Mark Carney did give slightly more information.
We're engaged in deep negotiations, intensive negotiations, on several sectors of the Canadian economy, energy, aluminum, and the steel sectors.
While intensive negotiations may sound promising, it's a line we've heard before, including from the Prime Minister in late July.
The negotiations are at an intense phase. It's a complex negotiation.
And those negotiations have led nowhere. One of multiple dates that Carney had set to get a deal with the U.S., which have come and gone with no results. But this time, the rookie politician seems to have learned his lesson, Anne, with the Liberals now not willing to set a deadline for when or even if a deal can happen on sectoral tariffs.
Mackenzie Gray in Ottawa, thank you. Newly released court documents are shedding light on the disappearance of 6-year-old Lily and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan from rural Nova Scotia. The RCMP has unsealed witness statements describing a loud vehicle coming and going near the family's home hours before the children were reported missing in May. Police say they've conducted multiple polygraphs and continue to follow new leads as the case nears its 6th month. The nonprofit Please Bring Me Home, which specializes in missing persons cases, says it's planning a community search the first weekend of November. Nearly 140 days after he went missing, Edmonton police are sharing more details into the discovery of Samuel Bird's remains. They're also revealing more about what led to the arrest of the man accused of second-degree murder in the 14-year-old's death. Sarah Comedina reports.
On Wednesday, we swung for the fences, and we hit a home run.
After 4.5 months of searching, Samuel Bird is on his journey home. Edmonton police found the 14-year-old's remains south of Stony Plain, Thursday at 4 in the morning.
Our team found the resting place of Samuel Bird in a stand of trees off a farmer's field on a rural road under a waning crescent moon directly west of Edmonton.
Detective James Bueller says police have fully investigated what happened.
Any videos purporting to depict Samuel's death are categorically false. The results of our investigation have determined that the family of the accused, Brian Farrell, were not present or involved in Samuel Bird's disappearance or murder.
38-year-old Brian Farrell was arrested in Edmonton Wednesday. He has been charged with second-degree murder. Police are not sharing details about what happened that night, but are adding a few details about the connection between the accused and Bird.
Farrell is the father of another youth who was an associate of Samuel.
Detective Bueller says this has been a very public case, and social media posts, along with false information, has made it more challenging.
Anyone in the public who thinks they have a better understanding than that needs to give their head a shake right now. They need to put their keyboard away, and they need to stop.
People have created a memorial for Bird at the house where Farrell lived and allegedly set on fire. Police were on scene Thursday, keeping an eye on things. Farrell will be in court Monday. Sarah Comedina, Global News.
In BC, RCMP have launched a province-wide billboard campaign to aid in the search of 11-year-old Kai Pavlovic. Police say they've been involved in the search since September 26th, when Burnaby RCMP was asked to do a wellness check on the boy. He is believed to be with a caretaker, but their whereabouts are unknown. Billboards are an attempt to move the investigation forward. Police say his disappearance does not meet the criteria for an Amber Alert. And the Toronto Blue Jays could not hang on to their lead over the Seattle Mariners last night, but one Dodgers player is seemingly unstoppable. Coming up, why Shohei Ohtani is drawing comparisons to baseball great Babe Ruth. The Blue Jays have flown back to Toronto and are taking the day to regroup after a heartbreaking loss in Seattle. The Mariners hit a grand slam in the 8th inning, winning the game 6-2 and taking a stranglehold on the series. The Jays have to win the next 2 games in Toronto to move on to the World Series. Whichever team moves on will face a juggernaut. Shohei Ohtani and the LA Dodgers booked their spot in the finals with a performance that some are calling the greatest of all time. Ohtani hit 3 home runs and pitched most of the game, earning 10 strikeouts.
That was, the greatest, probably the greatest postseason performance of all time. And there's been a lot of postseason games, and there's a reason why he's the greatest player on the planet. You know, what he did on the mound, what he did at the bat. He created a lot of memories for a lot of people.
The Dodgers swept Milwaukee 4-0. They have 9 wins and 1 loss in the playoffs so far. Up to 80% of women going through menopause experience symptoms which can really affect a person's quality of life. But accessing a menopause specialist in Canada can be a lengthy process, with patients waiting months or more than a year. As Catherine Ward explains, a new company is looking to close that gap with the help of artificial intelligence and online support.
The night sweats, hot flashes, brain fog, fatigue, joint pain. I felt I was 20 years older than my real age.
That was Patricia Rizzo's daily reality as she navigated menopausal symptoms. Her family doctor wasn't much help.
I felt like he gave me a cookie cutter treatment. I didn't feel like he was genuinely listening to me and what I needed.
Dr. Lindsay Sheriff says part of the challenge is the condition is not well taught in medical school.
In my 5-year OBGYN residency, even, I received 3 hours of menopause teaching.
Getting in to see a specialist can take time.
The wait time for subspecialists is 18 to 24 months to see a menopause care provider.
A Canadian company called Blair Health is looking to change this and get women better and more timely access by leveraging AI and virtual care.
So we used all of the medical guidelines, that are typically used in high traffic menopause clinics, and then we put those in our model.
People pay a fee to join the platform, fill out a questionnaire about their symptoms, and also do a wellness assessment.
The first thing that you do is you get an instant diagnosis of the stage of menopause that you are in, and then you get a very custom treatment plan that is clinically validated, and you're able to see a specialist within minutes.
From there is an option for virtual follow-ups with a licensed healthcare provider for a monthly subscription fee.
We know that it gives patients faster care. It is as comprehensive as if I was seeing a patient in person in the office.
To date, about 2,000 patients have joined the platform since its launch in June.
As a menopause provider who has been in practice for the last decade, it's, seeing this change and seeing what we can do with technology is incredibly rewarding.
And I felt hopeful for the first time in years that someone was going to prescribe a treatment plan that was going to help me finally get better.
Catherine Ward, Global News, Toronto.
Ahead, the price of gold hit a major milestone this week. We'll have more on the fears fueling this rally. Economic uncertainty reigns supreme, and that's fueled a rush to buy gold. The price of the precious metal topped $4,300 an ounce this week, which is a new record. Gold is considered by many investors as a safe haven for their money, and it's viewed as a hedge against inflation. Now, as the U.S. government shutdown continues, concerns about the health of regional banks in the U.S. remain, and the trade war between China and the U.S., the world's two largest economies, all of that has investors on edge. To make sense of what's happening, we are joined by Martin Pradier, an analyst at Veritas Investment Research. What is fueling this week's rush to buy gold?
Well, it's basically investors are losing confidence in the U.S. dollar and in the U.S. government debt. And if you don't have confidence in that, what is the safest asset is gold. And why people are not having that confidence is because the U.S. is running very big deficits, and that makes the country debt riskier. So the deficit to GDP right now is 6.5%, which is very big, especially thinking that the economy is growing. You can have that in a recession. And then there are other four factors, I think, that are important. I mean, the first one will be we've seen the economy in the U.S. slowing down and will slow more with the shutdown. And that means that it's more likely that interest rates will decrease. A decrease in interest rates is positive for gold. And you wonder why? Well, basically because gold doesn't pay interest. But for an investor, the alternative is to buy a bond. So if the bond has a much higher interest, the cost of holding gold is higher, the cost of opportunity. The second thing, we are in a moment of very high geopolitical uncertainty. We never had something like that. I mean, we don't know if we're going into a third world war. Any time Russia can do something weird against the Europeans. So that is another very good reason to buy gold. Then the government of Trump is doing something unusual, fighting against the Federal Reserve. And that erodes the confidence of the market in the U.S. Federal Reserve and in the U.S. dollar. And finally, the way that he's conducting the trade war, it's very disruptive. And the central banks of many countries that have a surplus with the U.S. used to buy government bonds, and now they're buying more gold because they don't trust the guy anymore. So all these reasons are why gold is going up so much.
So fear and uncertainty reign supreme. What advice do you have for people watching across Canada whose curiosity may have been piqued, who may be interested in checking out buying gold because of this latest surge in the price?
I think that gold will continue going up because of this uncertainty and the things that are going on in the world. And there are different ways to buy gold. You can buy a gold ETF, which is very simple. If you have, any brokerage account, or you can buy that. You can buy, an individual miner, or you can buy, an ETF of miners, or you can buy the actual coin or bar.
So a lot of options there, and as always, do your research. Thank you very much for your time and your insight. That is Martin Pradier, materials analyst with Veritas Investment Research.
Thank you.
Next, the Tough Mountie Challenge. Law enforcement officers do the heavy lifting at a fundraiser for youth mental health. Hundreds of Quebec police officers spent their Saturday working up a sweat as they raised money for pediatric mental health. Officers ran, jumped, and crawled during the Tough Mountie Challenge in Montreal. Dan Spector reports.
On a cloudy, chilly fall weekend morning in Montreal, nobody could be blamed for curling up on the couch and staying in. But hundreds of police officers, police tech students, and their supporters chose this and this and this instead.
Dragging the weights and everything, that's something I'm not used to do, but I'm glad to try it.
It's the 8th annual Tough Mountie Challenge. More than 500 participants, many of them police officers, run either 2.5, 5, or 10K to the top of Mount Royal, and then on their way to the finish line go through more than a dozen challenges inspired by police training. The event was created by the RCMP. It raises money for the Pediatric Research Foundation.
It reflects what we do in basic training. It reflects some of the components of our testing and our physical requirements.
Several forces are participating, including the peacekeepers from Ganawagi Mohawk territory and 100 Montreal police officers. Quebec Public Security Minister Yann Lafrenière, a former Montreal cop himself, is rooting for his former colleagues to come out on top. Sure, it's for charity, but these types inevitably get competitive.
That's not the purpose of the game. It's a fundraiser, but you know how it is.
This year, the money raised by participants will go toward research in youth mental health, neuro-inclusive schools, high school violence, and psychological well-being in Inuit communities.
We are focusing on prevention on mental health and neurodevelopment.
Another milestone being saluted here, 2025, is the 50th anniversary of women being allowed to be police officers in Quebec.
Women are made, to be in the police too.
Along with its sister race in Quebec City, the 2025 Tough Mountie Challenge raised over $200,000. Dan Spector, Global News, Montreal.
And that is Global National for this Saturday night. I'm Ann Gaviola. Tonight's Your Canada showcases this wooden train flower bed near Bright Sand Lake, Saskatchewan, the view of Boundary Bay from Delta, BC, and Grand Falls, Windsor, Newfoundland, and Labrador. Keep those pictures coming. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll join us again tomorrow. Have a great night.